am very pleased and feel privileged to speak before you on a very pertinent theme given to me, that is on political and strategic aspects of India and the United States engagement in the 21st century. This theme is very broad-based, but I would like to bring certain very important areas where India and the US converged in recent times, and whatever those challenges which really remain as a part of discourse, as a part of divergences between India and the United States. In the current situation, as all of you may be aware, that India and the United States have been converging on a number of strategic areas. And this really has taken a long way, especially in terms of building confidence and also building mutual trust, which perhaps is one of the very important components which is being witnessed in the context of India-US strategic engagement. There are a lot of issues which again I have to bring, especially to put in the context, and these are largely dealing with the areas where the US really felt that India is an indispensable partner in the changing dynamics of geopolitics. If I take, for example, the last 3 decades history and how the things got changed, I think one can come to the conclusion that obviously the US understood India's predicament in terms of deteriorating regional security environment. It was the United States which started a very robust cooperation with India in the field of strategic areas way back in the later part of 60s and early part of 70s, but that somehow could not continue because of the reason that India had tested its nuclear device. The test of India's nuclear weapon in 1974 paved the way for creating mutual suspicion. The United States stopped cooperation with India at every level. It was not that the US only stopped cooperation with India. The United States also pressurized other countries not to cooperate with India. The commitment which the United States had made, largely in the context of bringing India to a very robust bilateral engagement, that really could not continue. And the cooperation which again was supposed to be having this sustenance, that could not really lead to any dividends. But to an extent, whatever the United States took as a part of their policy decision after India tested its first device, in terms of imposing technological and economic sanctions, this really proved to be a boon in disguise for India. India became self-reliant. India did pay the price in terms of time and money, but India showed its resilience, especially in terms of building its own strategic program. It's not that the US wanted only to cripple India's nuclear program, but also to see that how India keeps itself completely dissuaded in acquiring nuclear weapon. Since 1974, if one goes back and sees India-US engagement in strategic areas, I think one has to look into from multifaceted dimension. And the multifaceted dimension has to be including the political one, diplomatic one, and one of the very important component which really has given a new way, the new look to Indo-US engagement is nuclear. Because the whole process of nuclear engagement which started in the first decade of this century really is a byproduct of the confidence which India built with the rest of the world in general and the US in particular, that India is not a proliferator. Despite India being a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, India has followed all the provisions which are enshrined in NPT. And that speaks volume about India's credentials. The mere fact the United States acknowledged India as a responsible nuclear player, that shows that the US understood that how India has shown its resilience in the nuclear arena. You know, a lot of issues really came. If one goes back and sees every presidency since 1974, I think if you take, for example, in 1974, Gerald Ford was the president, and after that you had Jimmy Carter, then you had Reagan, and after Reagan you had Senior Bush, then you had Clinton, and after Clinton you had Junior Bush, and obviously President Obama and President Trump, and now Biden. So I would like to give certain very important area where all the presidents really look towards India with certain amount of respect and also with certain amount of India's emerging position in the world. And that again saw that how the US obviously was bringing India into the ambit of creating a situation where India becomes a very important pole in terms of building relationship. In fact, there are a lot of debates that India has become an ally of the United States, but India will never become an ally. There is a difference between an ally and a friend. India will remain a friend, and that is how the development of a strategic partnership which have happened largely where the byproduct of the issues which were underlying in the context of having a track one discussion in the form of a Stob-Talbott and Jaswant Singh meeting. And this again if one can give a certain continuity in terms of this understanding, this happened only because of Pokhran II, which happened in 1998, that again brought a lot of stringent sanctions against India. The United States again imposed sanctions, and these were very severe ones. But obviously they understood that sanctions have produced counterproductive result. Sanctions have not kept India away from the path of becoming a nuclear power. India acquired nuclear weapon, India acquired a lot of these indigenously built nuclear reactor, and these were the byproduct of the advances which India did all of its own, despite the fact that if one goes back and see the cooperation starting in the early part of 60s, it was mainly in the context of boiling water reactor. India did get boiling water reactor from the United States as a part of bilateral understanding, and the understanding given was that the US would keep supplying the nuclear fuel lifetime. The lifetime supply of nuclear fuel was the hallmark of the US-India engagement, and that could not get continued for the simple reason of India testing the device. In 1998 test, again those sanctions which were already in place got further strengthened, and it became stringent, and India obviously had to really bring the US on the table through negotiation. India's predicament was understood, India's position was understood, that how India had tested, why in fact India needed nuclear weapon, and all these were understood by the President Clinton administration, and one proper platform was provided between the two countries, especially in the context of having a track one dialogue. A Stob-Talbott, Jaswant Singh meeting really were able to really reach to a consensus on 4 different areas. And these 4 benchmarks which were identified for having a dialogue was in the field of civil nuclear cooperation, civil space cooperation, defense technology cooperation, and an export control which could obviously bring at par with the international standard. So in fact, all these discussions which really happened as a part of a strategic dialogue between India and the US really paved the way for signing a strategic partnership. The US really has become a very important strategic partner for India for different reasons, because of the threat perceptions which were really understood by the United States. It happened only after the 9/11 event in 2001, where the US really understood India's predicament. After the terrorist action in 2001, the US was able to understand exactly the challenge which India was confronting with Pakistan, that cross-border terrorism remains an element in India-Pakistan equation. Until then, cross-border terrorism was not at all acceptable to the US and the US government. And that change of the US position really provided a lot of confidence between these two countries, and a series of dialogue since 2001, in the last 2 decades in particular, really have yielded to a very positive understanding. The mutual trust to an extent has been established, the robust engagement which really has been taking place. And again, a lot of the things which really have happened in the strategic areas, one such thing is counter-terrorism cooperation. Terrorism remains a global menace. The US understands it. India has been a victim. But this predicament of India again really was felt by the United States, that how the whole question of terrorism issue is being managed by India. So the US and India, they have come up with a counter-terrorism cooperation. In counter-terrorism cooperation, one of the important things which happens is how best each of these partners who signs this cooperation agreement, they share the intelligence information. Sharing of intelligence information remains a key in promoting counter-terrorism cooperation. And the idea basically is obviously to see that how they can prevent together any of these terrorism menace happening either on Indian soil or on the US soil. And a lot of these issues basically which have come up over the years is largely because of the technological prowess which the United States obviously has achieved in the field of improving its intelligence information gathering mechanism. The US perhaps was one of the first few in the world which really strengthened its capability in terms of gathering intelligence, and this was in the field of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance. The ISR capability which the US achieved mastery again is something which is very important for Indo-US counter-terrorism cooperation. and that perhaps is giving certain good dividends in terms of building a very bilateral, a very constructive bilateral engagement. And that is something which is, again, every presidency since Junior Bush, President Obama, President Trump, there was a continuity which was seen happening in the context of having this engagement. So likewise, even if one can see the issues which again became very important for the United States in terms of keeping India, declaring India to be an emerging power. Let me also in fact emphasize here, the debate that India has really been a rising power did not originate in India. This debate started in the United States. In fact, this whole question of identifying India to be a rising power, that India has all the potential to be seen as a rising power, this again became a part of the US lexicon in Washington DC, that how India is showing the potential to acknowledge or to assume the responsibility to lead the world affairs. It's not that a country becomes a rising power, a country becomes a major power, is that what responsibility a country assumes to lead the world affairs. India has all the potential and that was recognized. And the other thing which really the US saw happening in India, that India has emerged as a huge commercial market, and that really has brought the United States in a big way in terms of building these engagements. The other important thing again one can bring is with regard to the overall the import of conventional weaponry from the United States, and that is something India is figuring on the top of the US radar screen, because India is importing a number of conventional weaponry from the United States in every area, whether it is air-based assets or for that matter it is sea-based assets, everything is coming to India. There were a lot of challenges and obviously obstacles from the United States point of view, that any technology which has dual use, means a technology which can be used for civilian purposes, for the peaceful usage of technology, or for that matter military application of that technology, the US had a lot of reservations. And to an extent the United States in the current context obviously has been finding ways and mechanism to work with India in a manner which could really create a situation, very conducive environment where India obviously understands, India not only understands that okay, the US is becoming more and more closer to India, but also the element of trust, which really the trust deficit, which was again an element in the past, how that is going to be bridged. So the conventional weaponry again is something which is a very important part of Indo-US engagement. And one thing which is coming up as a part of debate in India, that how India can strengthen its Make in India component. If India really goes ahead and really augments all its effort in seeing that it harnesses the potential of Make in India, because that is the slogan of India. Make in India has three components. One is buy, second is buy and make, and third is make. As a part of India's defense offsets policy, the buy and make to an extent is very important proposition, where India obviously will have to get the technology from the United States and also see that how those things are in fact, the US in particular helps India in building infrastructure as well as helping India build capacity. So capacity building and building infrastructure becomes a part of that particular engagement, and that only can really help India in obviously augmenting the potential of Make in India. So there are a lot of areas which are still requires to give a new look, especially from the India point of view, and that is something where whether they are willing to share the technological know-how. That is something which again remains a major hiccup in Indo-US engagement, because the US would like to see that how best they can really be able to provide the technology, not the technological know-how, but the overall approach which is now emerging between India and the US, where India would emphasize to get the technological know-how from the United States, and so that those technological know-how can help India build some sort of infrastructure which could again augment those existing partnership with the United States. President Biden again has been showing a lot of seriousness in terms of building a good bilateral constructive engagement with India, and to an extent there is going to be a continuity of the US foreign policy towards India. There is no denying the fact that the US is going to be completely different from the position which they had taken all these years across the presidency, and how through that again they can really be able to help and build some sort of a bilateral constructive engagement. And that is how, in fact, one of the issues which again becomes very pertinent for India from India's point of view, that whether they would be able to share the basic fundamental research. I think on certain areas the US was very categorical. Obviously, in fact, the US has provided the wave to India that okay, India should become a part of Global Nuclear Energy Partnership, that is called GNEP. India should become a part of International Thermonuclear Experimental Research, ITER. Those things are happening, but still I think India has to go a long way in terms of really getting the maximum advantages from this continuing engagement. The basic fundamental research is something where I think India has to push for, because unless India pushes for the sharing of knowledge, I don't think that the constructive engagement would really see certain element of sustenance in the foreseeable future. So those fundamental research, which again becomes a part of the debate, that how India can augment, what are the areas where in fact they can really help India build the capacity, help India build the infrastructure, and all these issues again would be given priority in terms of having this engagement. The other issue which again is very critical, especially in terms of India's perception and the perception that US has been supporting Pakistan. The US support to Pakistan remains a feature since early part of 50s, and that support of US to Pakistan has been an irritant for India and the United States cooperation. And largely, even if during crisis time, the US obviously has played a different role in terms of declaring to the world that the US would like to really, in fact, solve the puzzle between India and Pakistan, which they feel that obviously they can help, but it's not going to work because India is very, very vocal in terms of telling that it's a bilateral problem and India has to find ways to solve bilaterally. So a lot of this keeps coming as a part of challenge between India and the United States. One of the things which again is something which India has to push for, and that is that how the US really has been giving a blind eye to China's horizontal proliferation. China's horizontal proliferation is something which has to be featuring in all the discourses, because that is what India has to push for. Because horizontal proliferation of China is something impacting negatively, how that has become detrimental to India's national security. And that perhaps is one factor which India has to work in the foreseeable future, that how best in fact the US takes certain strong action on the ongoing horizontal proliferation between China and Pakistan, because that has been proving to be very negative for India's national security. Other thing which India has to push to really see that how they succeed in having this robust engagement with the United States is that how in fact India convinces the United States in terms of changing certain principles of US-Israeli no supervision agreement. Because US-Israeli no supervision agreement is something which one has to understand, where the US has identified a list of 27 countries, and unless the US gives a green signal to Israel, Israel cannot conduct any of these commerce, that is whether it is conventional weaponry or any of these air-based assets or sea-based assets. So that again would depend upon how that no supervision agreement is obviously amended or some change happens in that. And a lot of these technological sanctions obviously saw the waiver. How much these waivers really have brought the tangible part, that is again a very important debate, because waiver remains largely cosmetic. Whether they are going to really work with India on certain areas where India would really be able to get not only the knowledge on that area, but also to see that how India advances its technology on different areas, and that is something which is very important in the continuing Indo-US strategic engagement. The question comes, which is again very important, that will the Indo-US cooperation be nuclear-centric? No, not at all. But the way the things were portrayed in the first decade of the century, that Indo-US cooperation, Indo-US engagement will largely be nuclear-centric because of the 123 agreement which was signed in 2008. Let me tell you that even if this agreement was signed in 2008, what is the tangible? Whether India was able to see any intangible getting culminated into tangible. So there is no such example that since 2008, India certainly has not got any benefit from the United States, whether in terms of getting nuclear technology or for that matter getting even 1 gram of nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel obviously they will provide to India only for civilian application. No country across the globe will provide nuclear fuel to India to build and support India's military program. That is very, very obvious. But even to promote India's civilian program, where India really needs badly. India basically needs nuclear fuel badly. And that, if that has not happened, I think India has to push for that. The overall sustenance of Indo-US nuclear engagement can only happen when the US starts supplying the nuclear fuel, and that again would help India in augmenting all its nuclear potential and seeing that how it harnesses that potential in generating nuclear energy. Generating nuclear energy remains a part of challenge for India because of the lack of nuclear fuel. And even if the US has helped India in terms of not really only signing 123 agreement, but also moving ahead and convincing the members of nuclear suppliers group that waivers would be given to India, and India certainly has really been able to work with all the members of the suppliers group, nuclear suppliers group. So it is not that this Indo-US Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, the so-called 123 agreement, is an agreement between India and the United States. The United States has opened the door for India to conduct nuclear trade and commerce with all the members of nuclear suppliers group. And that is something which one has to bring notice to, that even if there are 48 members of nuclear suppliers group, what is it that is stopping India in terms of harnessing the potential of all these countries, all these members of nuclear suppliers group, and getting the nuclear fuel? If you ask me that which are these countries which have provided nuclear fuel to India among the members of nuclear suppliers group, there are only two countries so far since 2008 which really has given the nuclear fuel to India. One is Kazakhstan and second is Australia. So I think India has to work, India has to consistently argue, India has to really show an element of seriousness, especially in the context of harnessing the nuclear potential of all the major powers, especially the members of nuclear suppliers group, and see that how it enhances its nuclear component in its overall energy security basket. Energy security basket, as you can see, only 1.8% of energy comes from the nuclear component. Otherwise, everything which you see is still we are highly dependent on fossil fuel. And that perhaps is one thing which India has to concentrate on, and obviously that would really help India-US to build its engagement in a manner that could really be of greater value to the bilateral engagement and also to the rest of the world. The rest of the world has been eyeing on the growing bonhomie between India and the US. They certainly really have been seeing this development with close quarters, especially in the context of seeing that how India and the US have come up, especially in some of the very sensitive strategic sector. And that perhaps again is some sort of a byproduct of the changes which really have occurred in geopolitics. And one such factor again might be, but I certainly am not the proponent of that argument, but people basically keep arguing that rise of China has become a factor for growing Indo-US bonhomie. But that is not that important, because India has to work largely in the context of what is it that could really build certain positive equation with the United States, how that could really yield certain very concrete result, especially in terms of creating win-win situation. And if that thing happens, I think a lot of this potential for India and the United States that can really be seen happening in various way, and how that could really help India and the US in terms of reflecting its interest across the globe. The geopolitical dimension and the changing dynamics, I think these two remain a greater feature in Indo-US strategic engagement. If one takes the case study of Indo-Pacific, if one takes the case study of the challenges which are really being witnessed across Indian Ocean littorals, and also in the context of the larger interest of the peace and stability, I think US and India have to be together. And if that really happens, obviously, there is going to be changes in terms of understanding this growing equation by the rest of the world in general and India in particular. There were a lot of suspicions in the past and obviously a lot of mutual mistrust which existed. How these suspicions and mutual mistrust really has been replaced by a very constructive and robust engagement, that is something which is being debated across the world among the members of a strategic and academic community. So what I would like to say here, that the political dimension, which is very critical, that has to be really understood by both India and the United States, that how India and the US being on one side again would prove to be highly stable for the world system. And the aggressive posturing, which is reflected in China's intentions, China's fundamental goals, and China's behavioral patterns, how that is going to be featuring on this emerging strategic calculus between India and the United States. Joe Biden in particular has to bring a very positive approach. In fact, when he won, there was a debate which was happening that Democrats technically have never helped India. Democrats have not been able to prove successful for India. I think, let me tell you, and would like to really put it on record, that it was Democrat only which really provided a very strong foundation for the growing Indo-US strategic partnership. And this happened during President Clinton time. President Clinton understood India's predicament. This is what happened just after India tested its nuclear device. And he visited India. And though he kept arguing that cap, roll back and eliminate, this three phrase which he used to use about India, that was cap, roll back and eliminate. Cap means how India can really cap the production of fissile material. Roll back means how India can get back to its, can get rid of its nuclear weapon. And the third was eliminate, that whatever India has got, especially in terms of building nuclear warhead, that has to be eliminated. So cap, roll back and eliminate really was replaced by his approach to India in terms of developing that bilateral dialogue, which really proved to be very important for India-US partnership. So President Clinton was a Democrat, he was not a Republican. He was succeeded by a Republican, that was President Junior Bush, and then obviously the 8 years of again the Democrat regime by President Obama, that again was highly beneficial in terms of understanding each other's perception. So whatever misperceptions existed in the past and which guided Indo-US engagement, that really is getting replaced by certain important perceptions which really have been built. And India's potential in every area, whether it is to do with the larger issue of the larger global issues, or for that matter, any issue where India's voices have to be heard, I think that is happening in a very slow and steady manner. India's voices are now well heard. India has become a part of the solution. That US understands. And because India has become a part of the solution for the rest of the world, I think the Indo-US engagement is going to be highly productive, and building of such engagement obviously would be beneficial for the larger peace and stability across the world. Let me in fact tell that President Biden is going to be a very important dimension in terms of building a very constructive engagement, because he will be continuing with the policies which the US already has been coming up with. There is going to be a continuity of the US foreign policy towards India, and that is something which is very important, mainly from India's point of view, that how that is going to yield a very positive dividends in such bilateral equations. One can take, for example, there might be certain changes where the US might like to evolve an independent India policy, and that would again be happening only because of the fact that the US will understand the relevance, importance and significance of India in this emerging geopolitical context. The geopolitical context is such where unless and until India and the US work together, it is very difficult to predict that how stable the world system would be. In the emerging world system, I think this engagement at the political and strategic level is going to be a vital component in building a very robust strategic partnership. The strategic partnership is going to be continuing, and they have to identify the areas where they have a strengths, and the convergences which really are being witnessed again are of greater significance for India and United States relationship. So let me conclude by saying that this whole idea of India and the United States coming together in this emerging dynamics of geopolitics will have a lot of value addition in terms of building a very stable world system. Indo-Pacific region obviously India has to play a very important role in becoming a part of the Indo-Pacific security architecture. The US understands that. India has to play a pivotal role. Unless India is a part of the US negotiation with Taliban in Afghanistan, I don't think there is going to be a very, very important and conducive atmosphere coming in South Asia. So I think India's importance, India's significance and its growing role is very much understood by the United States, and that could again help in bringing the US and India on a different platform where the mutual suspicion which existed in the past will be replaced by mutual trust, and this trust again will come a long way in developing certain important equation in the areas which would be highly strategic, and obviously that strategic area will be a byproduct of the existing perception at the political level between these two countries. Thank you very much.